Welcome to the 28-day Black History Month Read Aloud featuring We Are Our Ancestors' Keepers by Charles 3X Alexander. I'm Michael Brunker, and I'm here to not read from the book, but to talk about a picture that's in the book, and that's Charles 3X Alexander at the Jackie Robinson Family YMCA, standing in front of one of the greatest Black heroes we've ever known, Jackie Robinson. Let's learn more. Jackie and his family were born and raised in Cairo, Georgia, one of 5 children, until his mother, Mallie, moved them to Pasadena, California. And Jackie is known to all as the first Black man to play Major League Baseball. That happened on April 15, 1947. Before he did that, he had attended UCLA. And when he stepped to the plate, he had a history of being a great athlete, of which baseball might have been one of his weakest sports, as he starred in football, basketball, track and field, and baseball. But when he did play in the major leagues, he wasn't welcomed by all, especially his teammates and the crowds that were predominantly white at the time. He would receive hate mail like this with several threats of death because he was Black playing in a white man's game. After that first season with the Brooklyn Dodgers, Jackie worked at the 135th Street YMCA in Harlem, New York. And you can see here in San Diego, we try hard to maintain the legacy of Jackie Robinson at the Jackie Robinson Family YMCA. But this is what the Y looked like before we built that brand new state-of-the-art facility. The YMCA has been serving southeastern San Diego since 1943. At that time, it was known as the Southeast YMCA until the students at Lincoln High School renamed the Y the Jackie Robinson Memorial YMCA in the 1970s. Throughout the building, you'll see great reminders of all those folks that helped make this happen. The first pictured here is Rufus DeWitt with his wife, Mary. Rufus was the first African-American executive director in the YMCA of San Diego County. He and Mary brought their family from Montgomery, Alabama, and daughters Johari and Francine were young at the time when they came to the Southeast YMCA. Amos Johnson has been a member of the board of advisors at the Jackie Robinson YMCA for over 40 years. He's still on the board. And you can see his name on this plaque that commemorates the construction of the new teen center at the Jackie Robinson YMCA. That was in 1990. And in that teen center, Amos founded New Creation Church. The next thing that happened that was really big at the Y was when the Padres built the first little Padre Parks on the birthday of Jackie Robinson in 1997. That's January 31st. And a great advocate for us at that time was the legendary Tony Gwynn, who played for the Padres as a Hall of Famer, but he has been a beloved supporter of the YMCA, especially the Jackie Robinson Family YMCA, for quite a few years. And Jackie Robinson was also in the Baseball Hall of Fame. But as you go through the building, you'll see reminders. As you walk in the front door, there's a famous picture of him sliding home. And as you can see right next to it is a quote that says, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives." And beneath it is that bronze statue of Jackie Robinson at the plate. Walk a little further down the hall, you'll see this amazing painting by Kadir Nelson. Kadir went to Oak Park Elementary School. He went to Horace Mann Middle School, and he went to Crawford High School. And he is one of the most world-renowned artists right now. And this is a replica that hangs in the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City when Jackie Robinson played for the Kansas City Monarchs. A little further down the hall in our member lounge, you can see some other reminders of Jackie's greatness, some great memorabilia that we have on the walls. This picture here was drawn by Levon Lewis, and you can see a picture of him when he was a youngster growing up at the Jackie Robinson Family YMCA, and he's become a pretty great artist himself. Right next to it is a signed poster by Chad Boseman and Harrison Ford from the movie 42. Chad played Jackie Robinson in that movie. Next to is that famous picture of him sliding home, and the umpire calls him safe. And here's some memorabilia. Here's some stamps of Jackie Robinson from all over the world. There's a drawing here that was donated to us by Herb Johnson, where his uncle painted this charcoal drawing of Jackie Robinson. On the other side, there's more memorabilia in our member lounge. You see the bust of Jackie Robinson and another quote where he says, "Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life." Next to it is a gold-plated stamp of Jackie Robinson donated by the McKenzie family, and another baseball card, the very, very precious baseball card of Jackie Robinson donated by Tina and Jim Benedict. And there's that number 42, Major League Baseball. Every April 15th, it's Jackie Robinson Day, and that's the only day that any player in Major League Baseball can wear the number 42. That was his number. And this is a game-worn jersey that has been given to us by the Padres that hangs in that member lounge. Next to is another photo of Jackie with his autograph beneath it. And there's the cover from Life magazine from 1950. And to look at the price on it, it was only 20 cents at that time. There's a replica of Jackie's bat. It was a thick bat. The handle was very thick at the time with a small knob on it. And it talks about the weight and the history, but that's what his bat looked like when he stepped to the plate. And there's a Wheaties box, the Breakfast of Champions. And this was to commemorate the 50th anniversary of when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. This came out in 1997. So Jackie talked a lot about baseball, but he also, when he left baseball, he did more. He just didn't walk away from the game and do nothing. And in his autobiography, in this book by Arnold Rampersad, he talked about how he wanted to help where it's needed more. He wanted to challenge people to do more for kids that couldn't come to the Y, where he worked at one time and was now a member of the board. But he wanted people to do more, and I think that's what he challenges everybody, even to this day, to do. He did more by standing with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He marched with Dr. King. He raised money for Dr. King. He was very active in the civil rights movement. And it caused the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. to say, if you read that line at the bottom of this photo, "You will never know how easy it was for me because of Jackie Robinson." But Jackie wrote letters. Oh, yes, he did. And here's 4 that he wrote to 4 presidents. This one was written in 1958 to President Eisenhower. And here's a line that says that, talking about how much they want to achieve the goals that other Americans have achieved for over 150 years at wanting equal rights. This next letter was to John F. Kennedy, and he talked about what happened to Medgar Evers and how important it was that the same thing didn't happen to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This letter here was to Lyndon Johnson, and where he talked about civil rights at the time, where they passed the Civil Rights Bill, but he challenged President Johnson that it wasn't enough. They needed to do more. And this final letter that he wrote on April 20th, 1972, this was a few months before he was called to be with the Lord in October of the same year, when he read this quote that closed with, "I hope you will listen to the cries of the Black youth. We cannot afford additional conflict." Jackie said a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. And as we sit here today talking about we are our ancestors' keepers, and right now how you can even start thinking about how you can write your own book, how you can write your letters to the president, how you can be doing great things to help serve your community in so many ways with everything that you say, think, and do with your head, your heart, your hands, and your habits to make this a better place to live, work, and play. Now, Jackie wasn't alone. There were other African Americans throughout the years that were the first on their pro teams. And I'd invite everybody right now to visit this website, that it will take you to show all those who were the first to play in their respective sports in a variety of activities. The link is here, and I hope all of you will be inspired by what you heard today. And I want to once again thank Charles 3X Alexander for creating We Are Our Ancestors' Keepers, and how important it is to spend these 28 days of Black History Month to read aloud so that you can remember your legacy. Thank you so much.